Hi everybody, I'm here with Dr. Pleune, and we're here to talk about the Billy Meier Extraterrestrial contact case. If you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself a little bit and tell us just a little bit about your background and profession.
Sure. I am Dr. Pleune. I am a group leader of one of the Billy Meier groups. We call ourselves the Living Truth Fellowship. We're a nonprofit 501(c) organization registered in the state of Michigan. We have a good dozen or so regular attendees, and we meet once a month. And we usually have a fellowship time from the first hour that we meet, from usually 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. We have a potluck fellowship for about an hour, and then we move some tables and chairs around. Then we have several lessons, some announcements and such from 3 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon. So it works out really good.
So where's that located?
That's located in Cedar Springs, Michigan.
Oh, good.
We live in a mobile home community, but it's the mobile home ownership has allowed us to use their community building.
Oh, great.
To meet in at no cost. So it's really nice.
Perfect. So I hear you have a study course that you're offering, and you've been doing it for a couple months, or how long have you been doing that?
Oh, the 11-week course?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the 11-week course, we started teaching that in the fall of 2016.
Mm.
It's an 11-week course on the Billy Meier story. We started that at a community education program at a small city not too far from us, and we've done that the fall of 2016, the fall of 2017, and the winter of 2017 also. And we have another one coming up starting June the 2nd over at unbelievably, at a campground, a very large campground in Michigan called Sarnes Resort. The 11-week program is once a week for an hour and a half each time. And I have a PowerPoint presentation along with a script and such. And it lasts, like I say, for an hour and a half. And it goes for 11 weeks. And it is just a super presentation on Billy Meier as he started out as a little boy, the age of 5, and then continues on through present day. And it's just fantastic. You know, we've had, like I say, a dozen people attend each of those sessions, and we're hoping for a real good attendance this coming summer, because I've lowered the cost of it, because the people there at the campground, they have to pay to stay there each night. So I thought, well, okay, we'll lower it a little bit, and hopefully we'll gain a really good attendance. So we're looking forward to starting June the 2nd and going for 11 weeks.
Great. So people can actually fly there and stay at the campground to attend the course?
Well, usually what they do is they have RVs, okay, such as tents, pop-up campers, travel trailers, motor homes. In fact, some people actually camp there seasonally, and they actually have like what they call a small house type of setup, and stay there, and it's really neat. So we're offering a little special price for it, for them to come as an incentive for them to come. So
what's the price?
Well, for that campground, it is $10 per family. Normally, when I teach it at the middle school that I've taught for the past couple of years in the community ed program, it's $20 per person. But you see, the school system takes their portion; they take a cut out of the $20, you know, for their own profit.
Okay.
But the campground is not going to be that way. They want it to be an inspiration for the campers to come and a draw for campers to come. So I made up a flyer that the camp ownership can hand out. They can tack it to cork boards or telephone poles or whatever they want. Go camper to campsite and give that flyer out, and hopefully we'll have a good response.
So can you clarify just for me what the price of the course plus the campground fees are?
Yeah, as far as the campground fees for people to stay there, you know, in a tent or pop-up camper or travel trailer or whatever you want your recreational vehicle choice is, I don't know what it is per night because it fluctuates depending on, of course, how many nights you're going to stay, the type of sites you want, because some sites just have electric, some have full hookup, so I really don't know those costs. But the cost per family is $10 per family, and really all that covers is my costs of producing handouts, information about Billy Meier and such, that are in addition to the PowerPoint slides that I would show. So it covers, like I say, their handouts, you know, of Billy Meier information, the ink to print them, the paper to print, and that's what really that is. I don't make anything.
So you're basically doing this all volunteer,
right?
And so it's a really low price. You said only $10 per
family.
Okay, well that's great.
Yeah, instead of $20 per person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a great incentive. Besides, you know, when you go camping, the prices of campgrounds have gone up in past years, and so, you know, we'll cut them a break. Cut them a break, and they can enjoy learning about the Billy Meier story.
So is it mostly local people from the area that's been coming to the course?
Well, in years past, yes. When I taught it over at community ed program at Northview, Northview Middle School in Rockford, Michigan, they would put flyers out themselves. And that was, about the number of 1,700 flyers, I think it is.
Wow.
And then it was advertised also in local newspaper there. So I had a couple thousand, you know, notices go out that the school there endured the cost, which was really nice. So that saved me some costs there, you know, because to teach the Billy Meier course, hour and a half, one night a week for 11 weeks, with all the knowledge that's necessary to teach it, and the fact that, you know, I've got my video and audio equipment in on it too, it'd be a lot more. But you know, I'm not in it for profit. I just want to get the word out about Billy Meier and
that's great.
And the Goblet of the Truth, you know.
Yeah. Okay. And so, do you have information on how people can contact you to go to that course?
Well, they can contact me by two different ways. They can contact me by email or by phone, and my email is drpleune, that's PLEUNE, @gmail.com.
Okay, I'll put all that information in the video.
Sure, yeah. Or they can call me on the phone.
Okay, so you also give presentations on the Billy Meier information. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of like a one-time overview.
Instead of separate from the 11-week course. Right?
Yes. Now those, like I say, it's a 1.5 hour presentation. Approximately, I believe it is about 25 to 30 slides in a PowerPoint presentation. And when I do that, I like to reserve an additional half hour at the end of the 1.5 hour presentation for question and answers. And it really is a great time because you aren't giving them all the nitty gritty. You're just giving them an overview, enough that hopefully you get them interested to taking the 11-week course.
Great. Okay. And so you're also put together a study group here in the Michigan area.
Yes. What we've done is we've used the email contacts from those that have taken the 11-week courses before. Use that and promoted the this study group, Billy Meier study group, and we began that back in January of this year, in 2018. Okay, so it's been going pretty good. We have a good dozen people that regularly attend it, and then we have just recently, as of the end of April, I think it was April 30th, we became a non-profit organization registered in the state of Michigan, 501(c) organization, and we are called, legally called, Living Truth Fellowship. Okay, and it's going really good now. So we have officers, we have directors and such that are within our group, and so we hope to build on those previous contacts of the 11-week courses and anybody else, okay, to keep building on our study group. Like this coming June 2nd, we'll use contacts from that. You know, hopefully people come to our monthly meetings through those contacts too.
So when do you have the study groups in case people want to come to those?
Yeah, we generally have them the third Sunday of each month from 2 to 4:30 in the afternoon. There are a couple of dates that we've had to rearrange because people have already made arrangements for the community room at the community building in our mobile home park that we live in. So to get the exact dates, it'd be good for them to get a hold of me and I can tell them the exact dates, definitely.
That's actually the same day we meet in California with the California Interest Group.
Oh,
we actually do the Salome Peace Meditation on that day, so didn't know if do you guys do the Peace Meditation?
Not within our group, no.
Well, it's that same
Though I have spoken on it.
Right, it's during that same day, so if you guys wanted to do that, that's a possibility.
That is, yeah.
Okay. So, wanted to ask you, what, in your opinion, what are some of the main important aspects of this Billy Meier information?
Well, as far as the...
just the general aspect or the spiritual teaching, I just was curious what you think is some of the most important aspects.
Well, I think one of the important parts of it is this. I think we all can agree that ufology is a unique, subject to study and to participate in. If you want to do stargazing or signaling or whatever the choice may be. And that's unique in itself, okay? It's somewhat scientific, it's somewhat fun, but it's more than that. It's what you can apply in everyday life. And that's what I find is the rich part of the Billy Meier story. Okay, you can read about Billy's travels with Samyasi and such out into outer space and different things, and all that's unique. Okay, it's very interesting to learn. But then you have to ask yourself, what am I taking home? What can I really apply day after day, day after day, day after day? And that's the goblet of the truth. That's what you can apply. And that's what you can tell others about too, And it's that's the most enriching part of it. And my wife and I read a page of the Goblet of the Truth every day. And then from that, we glean certain things from those readings. And as you know, we've spoken earlier, I've got permission from Billy Meier to develop the Goblet of the Truth Index. And right now, as of yesterday, I think I had 1,884 different topics on it.
Wow.
So this, I find, is a good way for people to get into the Goblet of the Truth and say, well, gee, what about this? Let me look this up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a thick book, so sometimes you open to a random page and it might not be exactly what you're looking for. So I found the index to be extremely useful for finding a topic that you're interested in, or maybe one pops out to you and you go and look it up, and it's I found it to be very useful. Yeah. And so you've got that, it's up on theyfly.com, is it?
Yes, theyfly.com. Once the web page comes up, go to the left-hand side, and probably about a quarter of the way down, you'll see Goblet of the Truth Index, which you can click and look at it, the Goblet of the Truth Index, by that link. But right, I believe it is right below that, it says Goblet of the Truth Index. See, so and then you can click that on.
So they've got the entire book for completely free to download. It's on the Creative Commons license, so anybody can download it and share it with their friends.
Right.
So, and then they've got the index right there with it, so it's free to use and extremely useful. And for, like you said, everybody in their daily life to put this teaching, the spiritual teaching, to use in their daily life. It's very good. So.
Oh, it's the most important thing. I mean, it's enriched our lives tremendously, and every chance we take to tell somebody in a tactful way about the Billy Meier story, we look for opportunities, and it's unique, the answers you get back, but you know, we leave the door open. Okay, we don't try to push it on anybody. We more or less inform them and invite them to come and study with us, and there's a positive influence that you leave with them. So you want to leave the door open for people that are very skeptical, people that are very adverse to it compared to what they were taught as they were growing up in their own religious atmosphere. And it's just unbelievable.
So, do you want to try and paraphrase any of the spiritual teaching in your own, like general aspects in your own words?
Well, we found, I have a list, I've made a list several pages long of various verses that are very, that I find are important to me. And you can go through the Goblet of the Truth and find certain verses that may be important to you versus other verses, because maybe they have more of an application to you than what they do to me, or vice versa. And those verses are very important. You know, there's a verse in there that talks about the fact that we need to be at peace with one another. Okay, in fact, that's really throughout the Goblet of the Truth. But I remember this one verse that says, whether you be a clan or not, or whatever, or family, you know, you need to be at peace with one another. And that's what I find very, very encouraging. Okay, we can disagree, you know, agree to disagree about things, but we have to learn to be at peace with one another over whatever the issue is. Okay, and that's one of the unique things about the Goblet of the Truth. We don't stand and argue with people about things, you know. We just say, this is the truth, and just presenting it to you. And I'd just like you to think it over, you know, and I'll get back with you, you know, about whatever it is, the topic that has come up at hand. And it works out pretty good, you know. You keep the door open, you don't get people mad at you then, and, you know, and you respect them. And it's a powerful influence when you approach people in the right way that leaves the door open and lets them know, okay, we disagree on things, but you know what? You're humankind. You're mankind. And I love you for that. And I respect you for that. And that's the cool part of the Goblet of the Truth.
Yeah, and then another thing on that note is, remember Billy saying that we all need to find peace within ourselves to ever be able to bring peace into the world. So it's important to find peace within yourself to be able to have peace with everybody else, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's very important that we do that. Otherwise, we just continue creating enemies.
Yeah. So, I was wondering if you had any particular messages for the viewers of this video?
Well, you know, in talking to people, you get people from all walks of life, all types of convictions about various things in life, whether it be family, work, their religious upbringing and such. Okay, it's important to recognize that the Goblet of the Truth, if people would look outside the box, and just open themselves up to reading the Goblet of the Truth, as my wife and I did originally. Of course, in our previous background, we were what you call conservative, fundamental, dyed-in-the-wool, Christians. I used to pastor several churches, particularly Baptist churches. I was an evangelist for a campground ministry for a number of years, youth group leader, different things in the church. But when this message came along about the Goblet of the Truth, I sat down with my wife and we talked about this, and I said, there's something very unique about this that has a special message. Okay, and let's read on in this and see what this has to say. And in a period, I think of it was just a couple of months, the Goblet of Truth, we accepted into not only our minds, but our hearts. And it just transformed us 180 degrees. But the unique part about it is, having been in a very fundamentalist, conservative Christian environment for almost all my present life, especially in pastoring and evangelism outreach, it gives me a great opportunity to talk to other people about the truth, the Goblet of the Truth, the laws and recommendations, and nature. And I can see where those people are coming from.
Right. Yeah.
And having my doctorate is in apologetics, which is defending the doctrines of the truth, what you'd say, the biblical truth. It gives me that opportunity of knowledge that I've gained to approach people knowing most of the time what they're thinking about and what they're going to say, and how I can present the truth to them in a non-confrontational avenue. Right. Okay? So that I leave the door open for them, even if they vehemently don't want to hear anymore, it leaves the door open. And I can later on, approach them again without offending them. And it's so I guess I would say that though my background sounds unique in religious education, it gives me a great opportunity to know how and why Christians think the way they do, and how so many they're just stuck in that box. They got to look outside that box, right. And look at the truth, the real truth. Okay, and if they do, it will open their mind and their heart up. So much so that they will accept mankind, no matter what avenues of life that mankind may be. Okay? Will open up their love for them. Because I can remember as being a former Christian that there were certain labels on certain people. You just didn't have anything to do with them, and it was taboo, you know, and to associate with them, to even be seen with them. Yeah. But now, you know, they bleed just like I do. You know, they're human just like I am. And I can look at them through the eyes of the real truth. And loving people as I should.
So do you have a way to approach people that are religious with this information? Like with Christianity in particular?
Oh, yeah. If I know about them ahead of time, or know basically where they're coming from, I can plan my approach much better. You know, many times the question is, well, do you have any thoughts about ufology? And a lot of the conservative fundamental Christians will say, I don't want to talk about it, or I suppose there's life out there somewhere, but, you know, that's not for me to know about or determine or anything. And then my follow-up is, well, would you really like to know? Okay. And from there you can go into the Billy Meier story. But there is that block that people have. I know that when I was pastoring and evangelism, to talk about ufology was totally off the table.
Yeah, I've known some Christian people I've talked to have said that like they've been taught that anything that has to do with UFOs, that UFOs are like demons, and that it's like a devilish thing, so it can be really hard to even talk to people about that kind of thing sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of unique if you speak to people about demons, heaven, hell, things like that. You know, they firmly believe it. And you can't talk them out of it. Okay? They have to be changed in their heart, in their mind. And I know several times that I've said to people, well, what if somebody came, such as an alien, and said, heaven, hell, paradise, there's no such thing. How would you feel about that? And usually the answer is, well, but that's what I was taught. And I would say to them, well, yeah, I know, I was taught the same thing at one time too. But what if, and I use this illustration a lot when it comes to this type of conversation, what if, and I use this in the 11-week course too, what if, let's say you're 35, 40 years of age, and your parents come to you and say, well, you know something, Johnny? You were adopted. And you say, no. And then all of a sudden, they bring a box, and they open that up. And here's all this revelation of really who you are, where you came from. See? Now, the question is would that be hard to accept? And their answer is invariably, well, of course. Something I never knew before. And I would say to them, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You've never heard this before. But I am revealing to you, just as the information in that box is revealing to you, your true parents, your true brothers and sisters, what city you were born in, whatever the case may be. I am revealing to you, through the Billy Meier story and the Goblet of the Truth, the real facts. It's hard for them to swallow, okay? And that's why approaching them really from that point on, you have to learn to read the individual, because they can suddenly become irate and swear at you and do a lot, maybe physically come at you. Others may just totally deny it, okay? Others may just shrug and pass it off. Others may say, well, tell me a little more. So you have to learn to read them and listen really carefully and watch their body language, okay? Because you don't want to drive them away. But many times I approach the 11-week course by saying, okay, there are some things I'm going to reveal to you that you haven't heard before. And it may raise the hair on the back of your neck a little bit. But then again, if you didn't know that you were adopted and you're 40 years of age when you hear the news, surely that'll raise the hair up on the back of your neck also. And you'll either deny it or you want to say, where's the proof? Now, that's what you have to look for. When you hear something of that nature, well, where's the proof? There's your open door. There's the opportunity to talk to them about the Billy Meier story. And it's a fantastic story. It's really unique and fascinating, and just to me, it's life-changing. Yeah. And to those that have accepted the truth, the real truth that's in the Goblet of the Truth, and of course the writings of Billy Meier himself, okay, that reveal the history of our Earth, of the universe, of spirit reincarnation and other topics. It's fantastic. The predictions and prophecies that are made. But getting a person to that point is the tough part. But you have to be on your toes, listen carefully, be very tactful, and we'd like everybody to join in right away, whatever it is, to be accepted, to know that they have accepted the truth like we have. But everybody's at a different stage in their life, in their living, their work life, their family life, their career life, their thoughts, their convictions, their preferences. Everybody's so much different that, yeah, we would like to see them accept the truth right now. But so many times, that's not possible. But to keep in contact with them, okay, from time to time, being open with them, inviting them over for a meal, or if they want to go on a recreational activity with you. Okay, these are ways that we build up a friendship. We don't have to be afraid of the fact that we believe in the truth, the real truth, and the other person is believes in a certain denominational religion. Okay, because they may see something in your daily life that's unique and say to themselves, at least at the time, there's something different in them. They accept mankind. They enjoy peace, freedom, harmony, love. Wow, that's unique. And that's what I have experienced, since accepting the real truth. Because now I can accept all mankind. You know, I don't care whether there's a Muslim on one side of me and an African-American family on the other side of me and a Hindu across the street. Doesn't matter. The Goblet of the Truth says we need to love all mankind and treat them with full equity, fairness. And by the way we live, they're going to see something different in us. That's what counts. The difference between not living for the truth and living for the truth. We want to show them what it's like to live for the truth.
Yeah. So, in the Billy Meier information, they talk about getting away from belief in like the age of Aquarius is leaving the age of belief and entering the age of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so, I was curious about for you, how did you come to really prove this information to yourself to actually know that it's true and get away from like a belief type of thinking like with Christianity?
Well, as I've said earlier in this presentation, it takes time. Mm-hmm. Different things come into our lives that will influence us in various ways. You know, back in the 60s, when I lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, once in a while they'd have UFO reports. You know, people would see something flying over Grand Haven or Holland or Muskegon off the shore into Lake Michigan, different things. And I was initially interested, that's cool, but nothing really ever came of it at the time. Till 1974, when I actually witnessed a UFO as I looked out my window to the backyard after having breakfast, thinking about what I had to do in yard work. And it was a beautiful blue, cloudless sky. And my eyes went upward and I saw the underside of a UFO. You could actually see the 3 round pads that would, if it was going to land, that would come down. And I said to my wife, you got to see this. This is neat. This is reality, And I called the King County Airport right after that. And I asked them if they had reports in Rockford, Michigan of UFOs. They said, yeah, a bunch of them. I said, well, add me to your list. I've been watching one hovering right here, probably, I'd say a couple hundred feet up in the air from my backyard. And after about 10 minutes of both of us watching it, it just slowly went up and eventually out of sight. Well, that was in 1974, the spring, early summer of 1974. But what really got me interested in it was several years ago, we were living in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I went to a used store and was looking at books on a bookshelf, and I found one that said light years. And light years, what's that? And I picked it up, started reading it, and I bought it immediately. Took it home, and I've read it a number of times over and over. I just love it. I underline sentences. I put notes in the column. I highlight things in it, and I just ate it right up. And that was about that was in 2013, 2014. We retired and moved to Cedar Springs, Michigan in May of 2015. And that's when I picked the book up again for the umpteenth time and reread it. And I said, I'm going to look up this stuff see what it says on the internet. And I did. And of course I got to theyfly.com. And I says, this is unique. But you see, my eyes and my heart weren't open yet. I was curious. And
you're still a Christian at this time?
Oh, yes, definitely. I going to church faithfully every Sunday, communion, and the whole 9 yards, serving in the church and whatnot. And the website said something about the Goblet of the Truth. And I had always known in the past, or been taught, that the Bible was the truth. Even in my doctorate in religious education, with a major in apologetics, the Bible was it. But you know, I got to thinking, what if it isn't? I mean, after all, you got Hindus, Buddhists, Jehovah's Witnesses, you got all kinds of people all around the world with different religions. After all, I used to teach part-time in Salt Lake City at Strayer University as the professor of world religions. And I think maybe that might have been the primer to the pump at the time. You know, because not only did I have to teach different, religions from around the world, but I had to learn it myself. What were these all about? And so when the Goblet of the Truth came up, and as I read on the theyfly.com, I said, to my wife, maybe there's something more to this than what we know. Let's look into this further. And so we did. I ended up buying the Goblet of the Truth and sitting down with my wife and reading about it, and eventually saying to her, it's unique. It has a different approach to mankind, to love, peace, harmony. This is really neat. This is really what we need. Because in the religions of the world, they're all fighting against each other. They're always saying, well, I'm better than you folk in a different religion. And pretty soon there's fighting. I mean, you think of all the people that were killed during the Crusades, between Muslims and Christians. I mean, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. And it's sad. It's sad. And we need to study the Goblet of the Truth on getting along with each other with respect and integrity. And in time, I think it was a period of about just a couple of months, not only did we take in the Goblet of the Truth through our minds, but into our hearts. And that's what made the difference. That's what made the difference. And I said to my wife, I firmly believe this is the answer. And since then, we've been reading it every day. We read one page a day. And of course, my mission in connection with the Goblet of the Truth and the Billy Meier organization, FIGU and such, is to write the index of the truth, to the Goblet of the Truth. Because as we started to study it, I said to my wife, there's no index. Right. I sure would like to help people to study this by developing an index to the Goblet of Truth, and having approached Christian Frenner and advising him to check with Billy and see if this is okay. A few days after I asked Christian Frenner, he got back with me and he says, hey, go to it. Do it. And so I've been working on it ever since, and I believe right now we've got about 1,884 topics to the Goblet of the index to the Goblet of the Truth. So I'm very glad to be a part of that, to use my talents, abilities, to use my energy to spread the real truth to others. And I think this index to the Goblet of Truth is going to help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find it comparing this spiritual teaching to all these other religions. It just it talks about, like I said, belief a lot, and learning to know things for yourself. And like it talks a lot in the Goblet of Truth about this, about to beware of religions and sects and cults.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how this is different than a religion, how the spiritual teaching is non-religious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I think your last verbiage there is non-religious, okay? So that you can't fight over, first of all, of, well, I believe this, and I believe that, and I believe this, and I believe that. I mean, look at how many approaches there are in Christianity as a whole as to the end times in the book of Revelation, okay? The rapture, okay? And there's so many Christian denominations. Some are pre-tribulation rapture, some are mid-tribulation rapture, some are post-tribulation rapture, and they all get fighting about this stuff. See? Who cares? You're not studying the real truth. You need the Goblet of the Truth. That's the real truth. That's all that you need. Very simple. And because there are so many squabbles about different various things in biblical readings. Oh, it's this. Another denomination says, oh, no, no, it's this way. And, I've heard so much of it. I mean, after all, I used to, pastor churches, used to be an evangelist in campgrounds, and, I'm a real get-up-and-goer, man. I used to go out to private campgrounds and get permission to preach on Sunday morning. But you know something? There's no other joy than to tell people of the real truth. That's bottom line. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, I guess it's up to each person to compare every religion and philosophy and to study everything as well as the spiritual teaching from Billy Meier and FIGU, and just to find the truth for themselves. Because everybody's got to learn to know for themselves and figure it out for themselves. Because nobody's going to figure it out for you, And it seems to me that once you start actually really studying the Goblet of Truth, it all just is so logical. It makes sense. It actually makes it clear to you how to think for yourself, how to, it just makes the truth just shines clearer to me. Everything just rings true, and it all just makes perfect sense to me. When you look at all these different religions, it all looks like puzzle pieces. When you look at the Goblet of Truth and the spiritual teaching, it kind of just puts all these different puzzle pieces together in a logical way, and everything it makes reality just seem to make sense,
Well, one of the key things that we do in our monthly group, okay, is we review a number of things from the Goblet of Truth. One of them is an acronym, ERL. And I just say, hey, have you applied Earl this past week? Have you been living with Earl? And of course, they'll say, Earl. What do you mean by Earl? Now, we've gone over this before. Remember? Education, rationality, logic. See, that's what you need. Okay. And it's kind of neat. It's something they expect for me to review every monthly meeting, okay? Because it helps to review things in the Goblet of Truth, okay? Because they may not remember themselves, they may not be studying it like what my wife and I do, and so it's very important that we go over some of the truths, the context that are in the Goblet of the Truth, so that they remember, okay? After all, we study it very adamantly, okay, the Goblet of Truth. Others may not. And as you just said, there's people that come from different backgrounds, okay, that they have to approach the truth, the real truth, of the Goblet of the Truth, in their way and in their time. we, as the Goblet of Truth states, we who are learned in the Goblet of the Truth, in the laws and recommendations. If you read in the Goblet of Truth Index under guidance and under counselor, we who have learned about the Goblet of Truth are to be guides for those who haven't come to that point. We are to be counselors. Okay? It doesn't say beat them over the head with it. We are to counsel with them. We are to be a guide, even for those that have come to the knowing of the truth, but they've got a long journey yet for maturity in the truth. I mean, even you and I do. Okay, we're constantly learning.
Absolutely, everybody.
Yeah.
Especially somebody that's been immersed in a religious teaching for their whole life.
Yeah. So it's up to us to help them, okay, in whatever ways we can. Sometimes it's just dropping a suggestion. Sometimes it's a kind act. Sometimes it's just referring to a story that we know that may have its way around to demonstrating the Goblet of the Truth, or the truths of life. Yeah. So, we're endowed with that responsibility.
So do you want to talk about a little more about the UFO signaling that you do?
Yeah, that's a good question, because that was one of the factors that got me interested, of course, in the Billy Meier story. Okay, ever since I was a boy in the 1950s, 1960s, when it would be reported in the Grand Rapids newspaper or some other local newspaper, and then later in the mid-70s, when I used to live in Rockford, Michigan, I've always been interested in ufology, okay, but never really able to get to know how I could become closer to it and more involved in it. Well, when I read about the Billy Meier story and got the Goblet of the Truth and became more knowledgeable in the Goblet of Truth, I said to myself, well, if Billy Meier can experience these dear folk, Ascot and Samyasi and Patan and Safaz, and he can see their ships, why can't I? So went to the internet and read about CE5 initiatives, and contacting UFO through using high-powered light, like a spotting light, using a certain code of flashes, kind of like Morse code, and the experiences some people have had with that. And I thought to myself, well, why should I be any different? I think I'll try this. And so I did. And my wife and I have been very successful in various types of contact with aliens. Okay, mostly it's been since 2016, the summer of 2016, the summer of 2017. We've had over 140 times that aliens, whoever they be, have flashed a light back at us, or have flown, like I say, 200 feet above us, which we call a flyby, or have come very close to us, such as an encounter in 2016 where a ship was waiting for us in a field late at night where we normally do our signaling. A ship was all lit up waiting for us 300 feet from us.
When you got there, it was...
When I got there, it was there. And I didn't notice it until I come around the end of the car to my wife's side of the car where I plug in my spotting light, and I looked over there and holy smokes, look at this ship. And it was all lit up, not like as if it had light bulbs like in this room or anything. It was like these toys that you put a flashlight on it or hold it up to a light and then you go in a closet and it glows of itself. That's what it looked like. And it was only hovering like 20 feet off the ground. And the glow that it had, which encompassed the whole ship, did not reflect onto the trees to the left, right, and in back of it. It was just fantastic. And I tried looking in the, from the distance that I was from the ship, I tried looking in the windows. The windows were blackened out. Couldn't see anybody through the windows. But I'll be doggone, that ship looked exactly like Samiasi's ship.
Some from the Billy Meier's photos.
That's right. And it was just fantastic. I tried to get my wife to get the camera out of the camera bag fast enough, but you know, you're out there at old dark 30 and she didn't have a flashlight and she was fumbling through the camera bag trying to get it out, you know, and I turned back to look at the ship and it was still glowing, and then I turned back to her and then I turned back into the ship and all of a sudden it blinked out. Now that's a unique experience to actually see, like it showed on one of the Billy Meier's videos, where he was filming a UFO in broad daylight, and it blinked out, it disappeared, and at this elevation, and it appeared at a higher elevation to the right, it came back into appearance. And so then I thought, oh man, missed it. And all of a sudden, it blinked back into sight. And of course, by then, I'm going nuts. You know, this is fantastic, you know. Saying to my wife, come on, get that camera out of here. Come on, let's go. Come on, there's a ship right over there, you know. And, oh, yeah. But anyways, it stayed lit for about another 10 seconds. And then just as she was getting the camera out of the bag, it blinked out again. It didn't take off. It blinked out because there was no black silhouette of any type, as if it just shut off some lights and then took off through the night sky. And that's the same thing with the flyovers that we've had. In 2016, we had 5 flyovers. And like, you know, they would just fly 200 feet over you, and after it's unique. They just pass over your head and they blink right out. You don't see an object continuing. So this has been a great inspiration to me, and just had some fantastic experiences, even with looking up into the sky and speaking. And on several occasions, they flashed a light back. I mean, I had no light in my hand, but it's just that I was reaching them with positive, swinging waves, like what it says in the contact reports as well as in the Goblet of the Truth. And I believe in those initial days they were checking my wife and I out. And since then, we've had great experiences of flashing. In fact, I just went a couple days ago signaling on May 5th. My wife and I went out, and about quarter to midnight, and man, we must have flashed for about 25 minutes or so. Didn't receive any flashbacks, and then all of a sudden, I got a great big white flashback, and I was so happy I took the button on my spotting light and made it go back and forth, you know, on, off, as fast as I could, to kind of let them know, hey, I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. And my wife, after that initial bright flash, it flashed 5 more times, and that's when my wife saw it. And I said to her, as I tell anybody that goes with us, swinging waves are powerful.
thought vibrations.
You bet. Positive ones. Positive ones. And they sense that. They can sense it. So when that happens, not only do I use the light, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, to show them, okay, hey, we're excited, thank you so very much. We actually verbally look up into the sky at where they are or were and thank them. And it's so unique. But here's, though it's kind of fun, okay, I think it's something more of science that we need to learn and develop and look into. However, knowing the truth is so much more than just going out and signaling UFO. Okay, you can have some great experiences that way. But don't let that be the focus of your life. That's just kind of a side activity.
Yeah, like what I've said before, it's it's about the message, not just the messenger alone, or just the craft that they arrived in,
Yep.
which is the lights in the sky. It's about the message, like you're talking about the Goblet of Truth, the real teaching of truth, the very important message that is actually going to change humanity on Earth here.
Yeah.
And really having a huge, valuable impact on people's lives, and bringing us out of the age of belief into the age of knowledge and rationality, logic, like you were saying. It's a very beautiful thing.
You know, a year ago this month, I went turkey hunting over Rogue River State Game Area by myself, and got my stuff out of the car, my gun, seat, backpack, and a beautiful starry sky at 5:20 in the morning. And I got out my Navy SEAL flashlight, and I thought to myself, I really wonder if they've been keeping track of me. And I believe that they did ever since we first started flashing in the summer of 2016. In July 16th of 2016 we started. And last year, I went at this very same time turkey hunting, and I thought to myself, I'm just going to check. And about 45 degrees up the horizon, looking straight west, I did a flash code just with my Navy SEAL flashlight, and there was a UFO very close. Flashed me a couple times.
It seems like this information is really changing history on this planet. It's going to change us. If, like they were saying, if we keep going down the path we're going down, we're inevitably going to destroy ourselves here on Earth. So they're trying to get us to change course and follow a different course. And this teaching of truth and all these the prophecies and predictions and all this information from Billy Meier is actually helping change the course of humanity.
Oh, yeah.
And this index that you're doing for the Goblet of Truth is actually a very valuable part of the mission of changing the course of humanity.
That's right.
And so I think that's amazing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel very privileged to be a part of it. And to me, the truth is everything. When you know the truth, live by it. Day in, day out.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to add, you think, or going to wrap this up here?
Well, we just are, like I said, we have some commitments in the future. I'm going to still work on more commitments at various libraries, hopefully a planetarium in Grand Rapids in the coming future and such. So I've developed these PowerPoint presentations, and if anybody would like to acquire them, you know, the work is already done for you. Okay, I've already done the work.
So putting together the
presentation. Yep. And so if they'd like to acquire any, they could contact me, and because I look at it as I'm not out to make a killing off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're really volunteered all your time, put
Yes.
a lot of time into building the whole presentation, right?
Right.
And so you're offering it to anybody else out there that wants to put on presentations using the PowerPoint presentation you put together.
Yeah, it's a benefit to them.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm sure I'll probably take you up on that, and I'll probably do that myself.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great. Yeah.
You know, I'd like to have hundreds of people contact me about it and get showing it to their, in the most susceptible places that are willing to accept a presentation are libraries.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Often for free.
Yeah, sometimes free, sometimes for a nominal fee or whatever. And that's really great, you know. But it's fantastic, you know, and it's, you get a local paper to put an announcement in there about it.
Is that for free? You get to put in the paper, or does that cost money?
No, it's for free.
Oh, since it's a free
because
event.
it's like a news item. You know, if you're advertising, like selling a car or something like that, that's an advertisement for sale. This is an advertisement for an activity, a community activity. So they kind of look at it as that. And that goes over much more easily, especially if you're a nonprofit, as we recently became. And it helps people understand ufology is here to stay. But there's so much more beyond that with the Billy Meier story and the Goblet of the Truth. That's what we need to live by. Okay? Not signaling UFO constantly, though it's a unique activity. But that's not going to improve your life. You're not learning anything about self-awareness, self-development, self-maturity through the Goblet of the Truth.
Right.
You won't learn that through signaling, you know, UFOs. I don't care where they're from. So.
Yeah, I remember just reading in the Goblet of Truth just yesterday. I remember it said about the purpose of life, the evolution of the consciousness needs to be. You need to remind yourself of that purpose of life every moment of every day.
Yep.
And that's what that is that working within ourselves, being aware of what's going on within ourselves, and not just disregarding it, and not being falling prey to a belief system, and being aware, and like you said, living the teaching, living what you understand to be logical and truthful in the teaching.
Right. Yeah, it's very, very important. You can use ufology as an introduction, but don't make it your focus. Okay. If you want to use it as an extracurricular activity, fine, but don't dwell on it. Don't make that your focus of life. There are some groups in the United States that do. But you know something? They haven't matured at all. Okay, they want UFOs to come down and set up a kingdom of peace here on Earth and such. Not going to happen.
Yeah, we got to create the peace here on Earth ourselves. We're the one who
Right.
created the mess. We got to clean it up and create the peace ourselves, huh?
That kingdom of peace has got to be within us.
Right. Yeah.
You know, not 5,000 UFOs coming down and trying to so-called straighten things out. It ain't going to happen.
Right.
Okay, because you're always going to have people that are going to revolt even against them. Okay? Why? Because you aren't going to be like-minded.
Right.
But the Goblet of the Truth, when you get people to read the truth and accept the truth, now they're like-minded. Now they get along. Oh, you'll still have your differences. But the overall focus will be the kingdom of peace that's within each one of us. Okay? Because UFOs, they'll come and go. I mean, that's their business. Our business is this world. Our business is our mankind. It's funny how I was advising some people, I says, I'm going to talk about, there's religions on other worlds. And I said to them, really? of all the UFOs that have been seen and identified and everything, you know, and you got UFO charts and everything, I says, you know, not one single one of them have any type of religious symbolism on them. Not any.
Yeah.
Not even a loyalty to some federation or something. They're plain. Do you think they know something we don't? Yeah. Yeah. So it's just kind of fun to, you know, one of the greatest ways to reach people is by questions. Mm-hmm. And we talked earlier about how Emmanuel used questions, you know, to answer the people's questions.
To make people think for themselves. You ask them a question and they start rolling it around their head.
And that's one of the approaches that we need to practice. Is say, hey, what do you think about this? And would you give some thought to this?
Instead of trying to tell people how it is, you ask them a question and it starts going through their head.
Yeah, because usually the first thing that comes up, well, who died and made you in charge? You know? And how'd you get to be kingpin of all this knowledge and different things? You don't want to build up that wall. You don't want to build up that wall. You got to approach them with sensitivity. And like I said, the best way is to ask them a question. You know, and just kind of see where it goes and get them to work things through in their mind to a point where they can't explain anything, and then you could say, well, you know, I was reading in this book, it's called The Goblet of the Truth. And you could let them know a verse or two in there, you know, and how it's changed your life. Man, what a great testimony, you know. But yeah, it's been fantastic to come to know the Billy Meier story and to spread the news of the truth, because that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview, and it was great to meet you. And thanks for coming all this way to do this. So we'll definitely do it again soon, right?
Yeah, that'd be really nice. My pleasure. I mean, my wife and I would just be glad to help out in any way that we possibly can.
Okay.
You know.
Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and record some of your presentations here coming up, right?
Yeah. That'd be really neat, and get some more of these presentations out. You know, because there's people that they say, well, how do I go about developing this PowerPoints? Hey, contact me. I've got them already done.
Right. Yeah.
Might be a little price for them, okay, but I try to make it really super ridiculously, you know, affordable. Yeah. just to get it in other people's hands and get presentation, because I'm not out to make a dime on any of this.
Right.
You know.
Just cover your costs.
Yeah, just cover my basic costs, expense of getting it to them, you know. And it is really powerful. It's really powerful. Yeah. And the work is done for them. The work is done for them. Just get out there, and you don't have to worry about the material. It's already there on the PowerPoint, and you can start making your appointments at libraries and different things, family gatherings, whatever it is, you know. We need to get out there and get the word out.
Yeah, like you were saying, people always ask, and I hear people say that too, like, why haven't I already heard of this information? Yeah. And it's a lot of people don't want to risk their reputation talking about it. It's hard to get it into colleges and stuff for that reason. And yeah, we need to we'll study it for one, and then, like you said, just make it available to the public so more people can know about it, because it's the most amazing story I've ever seen. And like Michael Horn says, it's either the greatest hoax in humanity or it's the greatest story in humanity. Yeah. It's one of the two. So I've found it to be completely true, and going through all the evidence, and it all just makes complete sense to me. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it out there to the world and let people think it through for themselves. So,
and you know too, if someone feels sheepish about doing a presentation, that's all right. Give me a call, contact me, and just give me a plane ticket and place to stay and something to eat, and I'll do the presentation for you.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And it'll be great, because my only concern is to get the word of the truth out to people and get them to look outside the box. Okay, and that's important.
All right. Well, thank you again.
You bet.
And talk to you soon.